He was the kind of man everyone feared, the ruthless CEO whose word could ruin empires and whose cold eyes froze every boardroom into silence. Yet behind the grand glass walls of his mansion, his cruelty found its sharpest target in the one woman who should have been his sanctuary, his wife, the gentle soul who once believed that beneath his armor of arrogance there existed a man who could love her back. But night after night she was proven wrong as he treated her not as a partner but as a possession, punishing her for mistakes real or imagined, for the tiniest imperfections, for daring to speak when silence was demanded, for daring to love when his heart was locked away. And she endured, telling herself love meant sacrifice, that maybe if she bore the storm long enough he would change, he would soften, he would remember the vows he once whispered in the hush of their wedding night. But instead the punishments grew harsher, his disdain sharper, until the house became her prison and her heart its most fragile inmate. And yet she never spoke of the bruises that did not show, the invisible scars carved by words sharper than knives, because deep down she still hoped for the man she had married, the dreamer hidden somewhere beneath the tyrant, until one night, when the weight of silence became unbearable, she packed her bags quietly, left a letter on his desk with trembling hands, and walked out into the rain, her tears indistinguishable from the sky's grief, her footsteps echoing freedom and finality. And when the CEO returned, expecting his obedient wife to kneel at his anger, he found only emptiness, a letter that shook the very walls of his arrogance, words that said, "I loved you with everything I had, but love without respect is slavery, and I will no longer be your prisoner." And for the first time in years the man who conquered companies felt conquered himself, by regret, by the hollow silence of a house without her laughter, by the haunting realization that money, power, and control could never buy back the simple grace of a woman's love freely given. And he raged, not at her but at himself, tearing through the city with her name on his lips, searching for her in the places they once shared, the cafe where she sipped vanilla lattes, the bookstore where she lingered in the poetry aisle, the park bench where she once whispered dreams of children and a family. But she was gone, vanished into the fabric of a life she was finally free to weave, and days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the CEO, once proud and untouchable, began to crumble, his empire thriving but his soul bankrupt, his nights tormented by the memory of punishing the only woman who had ever truly cared for him, until fate, with its cruel irony, arranged their reunion at a gala where he was to receive yet another award for power and influence. And as the cameras flashed and the applause thundered, he saw her across the room, radiant in a gown of midnight blue, her smile no longer dimmed by fear but shining with the confidence of a woman reborn. And beside her stood another man, tall, kind-eyed, with a protective arm around her waist. And in that moment the CEO's heart shattered with the realization that while he had wasted nights punishing her, another man had spent days healing her, cherishing her, loving her the way he never did. And though his instincts screamed to march across the ballroom, to demand she return, to beg for forgiveness, his pride clashed with the raw truth. She no longer belonged to him, she no longer needed him. And when their eyes finally met, she did not look away, nor did she look with hatred, only with the calm distance of a soul who has survived fire and found peace on the other side. And he forced a smile, nodded politely, while inside his chest regret tore him apart, because in all his boardrooms, all his billions, all his trophies, he had never felt poorer than he did watching another man hold the woman he had once called his wife. And that night, as the gala lights faded and the crowd dispersed, he stood alone in his mansion, staring at the empty side of the bed, haunted by the truth that cruelty may control for a season, but it cannot chain love forever. And the cruel CEO finally understood that his greatest punishment was not the loneliness she endured under his roof, but the emptiness he was condemned to live with after she was gone. For though he had punished her every night, fate had reserved the harshest punishment for him: to regret, to remember, and to live without her forever.